1911 by DeAngelis. The aircraft bucked as the gust of wind slammed us up another 50 feet. The tail kicked sideways and the pilots corrected the best they could. I grit my teeth and let the cold air coming in through the drafty window tamp down the rising gorge of queasiness. A bit more than 20 minutes of this, and we'd be back. Cold northern winds pushed out the afternoon's sleet and snow as we returned back to the hangar at night under night vision goggles. The pilots continued talking about the finer points of the GPS and the national airspace. The rain clouds were giving way to patchy skies. The moon, a waxing gibbous nearly full, was high in the sky. With the winds, the clouds moved briskly, and the stars shone clearly in the gaps. I picked out constellations I knew. Satellites, for whatever reason, weren't as easy to see this late at night. The aircraft jerked again. In the turbulent lee of the Franconia Ridge, we were getting really kicked around. I had no choice but to focus outside on the horizon to fight the air sickness. I'd steal a quick glance inside to look at the fuel gauge in the GPS. The fuel gauge displayed 760 pounds, plenty to get home with this tailwind. The GPS said 23 minutes. I glanced at my watch. 20:37. We'd be home at 9 p.m. sharp. Lukewarm air came out of the cabin heater vent, smelling of hot plastic insulation. The trickle of heat was nothing compared to the steady stream of icy air coming through the drafty gunner's window. I alternated hands in front of the vent to warm up my fingers. The morning's hot hands had long since gone cold. Focusing on the stars, I studied the night sky. The nausea was strong. The western sky was dark and clear. I did spot one satellite, a bright one, but quickly lost it in the fast-moving clouds. An airliner streaked high above, leaving a long, skinny contrail. I cocked my head sideways and looked around my goggles for the airliner with my naked eye. After a brief search, I caught the red light of its left wing and the white strobing anti-collision lights. Back under the goggles, the airliner was a bright moving star, flashing brighter with the strobe. It flew behind a cloud. I closed my eyes and switched hands in front of the heater. Below us, the rocky, ice-covered mountain ridge was brightly lit in the moonlight, with the cloud shadows racing across them. I zoned out for a bit. The pilots were talking about their cars now. I caught another satellite with the NVGs and followed it, a bright one. It tracked across the sky in the arc of its orbit. It almost looked like it had a shape, like a triangle. It was going west to east with the blowing clouds. Maybe it was the space station. That flies west to east. I continued looking around, then returned to it. My exhaustion must have been setting in. It had been on a heading that had it traveling with the clouds, and now it was nearly on the same course as us, obviously cutting across the sky. I lost it behind a larger cloud. Surely it was another satellite, and I had just lost the first one. This one had the same triangle shape, and appeared even brighter. It was definitely triangular. Again, behind a cloud. The pilots were talking about retirement plans. I traced the light's path with my eyes and tried to find it once more. After a brief wait, it was in sight again. Definitely triangular. Again, I looked around the goggles and found this bright satellite with my unaided eyes. The light seemed golden and blue at the same time. What am I looking at? There's no strobe. The navigation lights aren't the right color. Wanting to interrupt the pilots from their boring conversation, I brought my fist out from under my armpit and fumbled for my mic switch. The triangle was about to disappear again, but I'd asked the pilots to watch with me. Before I found the switch, the object, brighter than ever, startled me by going under the next cloud. I found it again with my eyes. The three corners were distinct. I jammed on the floor switch, blurting into the mic, "Traffic, 2 o'clock, high." The pilots both craned to see it around the window frames and control panels. "Where?" they asked, interrupted. The airliner?" "No, higher, about to go under the cloud. Triangle," I said, straining for a calm tone. "Oh, I have him. Higher." We were all watching the triangle now as it passed under another thick cloud. The corners of the triangle were distinct. The nausea was replaced by a tickle of adrenaline. "Who is that? Nothing on the iPad. Came out of nowhere. Well, he's no factor. I didn't hear anything on CTAF. Are we still up Laconia? Yeah, he's not talking." We continued watching the triangle, transfixed by this anomaly. Guy forgot his strobe, and those position lights are almost purple. I don't think we'd get Boston at this altitude. It passed above another cloud this time, climbing. Then it was gone. It never came out, like the lights had been turned off. And he's gone. Must have seen us and climbed. I'm still not sure who that was. That was bizarre, man. Is it worth a call to Boston? Nah, we're in Class G out here. It was odd, though. Our crew continued searching for it during the rest of the flight home, but we didn't see anything. I didn't mention our triangle apparently coming down from the upper atmosphere to the pilots, not quite believing it myself. We were all tired and cold, and depth was so hard to judge. Even experienced crews can mistake the lights of a 737 for those of a little Cessna, especially on cool, clear nights. The triangle had definitely been above the cloud deck, then below it. Had I just seen 3 different things in sequence? 2 satellites, then another plane. But they were all triangles. Both scenarios seemed unlikely. We landed at Concord right on time. I checked my phone to text the wife that we had made it back from the North Country. It was 21:19, later than expected. Winds must not have been doing what was forecast. We were accosted by the supervisor for missing a radio check. We got the aircraft refueled and pushed into the hangar and broke off into our paperwork tasks and stowing of gear. We were all eager to get home, and our debrief was nothing special. The only maintenance fault we found on the aircraft was that both cockpit clocks were still in sync, but each one was 19 minutes and 11 seconds slow.